History seems to repeat itself. Just as Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice earned acclaim for its audio design and best performance in 2017, Senua's Saga has claimed the same honors at the 2024 Game Awards. As we wait for player reviews of the sequel to build up for a proper analysis, let's remember what made the original game so special by breaking down its top 5 most commented user tags, starting from its rich story. The power of Hellblade's narrative lies in its ability to forge an intense emotional connection with players. The story follows Senua, a Celtic warrior on a harrowing journey through Norse mythology to save her lover's soul from Helheim. What sets this narrative apart is its profound exploration of mental illness, particularly psychosis, which is woven seamlessly into both story and gameplay mechanics. The game's storytelling approach is notably unique, eschewing traditional gaming conventions in favor of a more focused, cinematic experience that typically spans 7 to 10 hours. Players consistently report being deeply moved by the narrative, with many noting they were brought to tears or left contemplating the experience long after completion. While some reviewers found the story confusing or slow-paced at times, the overwhelming majority praised its emotional depth and psychological complexity.
It's good to see you.
How does one effectively blend Celtic warrior culture, Norse mythology, and personal tragedy? Hellblade accomplishes this through its distinctive historical and mythological framework. The narrative unfolds in the Viking Age as Senua ventures into Norse underworld. The game's lore is enriched through collectible lore stones scattered throughout the environment, which provides players with detailed stories about Norse gods and mythology. Reviewers consistently praise the game's attention to historical accuracy and its unique perspective of storytelling through the lens of a Celtic character. The mythological elements are seamlessly integrated with the main narrative, creating a dark and atmospheric tale that feels authentic to its time period. While some players found the mythological aspects occasionally confusing, most appreciated the depth and research evident in the storytelling. What makes a story transcend traditional gaming conventions? In Hellblade, the technical execution of the storytelling creates an unusually immersive narrative experience. The game employs binaural audio design, requiring headphones for optimal experience, with voices that whisper, guide, and torment the player throughout their journey. The motion capture and facial animations, particularly for Senua, have been widely praised for their exceptional quality and emotional authenticity. Players frequently note how the voice acting brings depth to the characters, with special mention of Melina Jürgen's performance as Senua, remarkably her first acting role. The game's cinematic presentation seamlessly blends cutscenes with gameplay, creating a continuous narrative flow without traditional gaming interfaces or HUD elements. While some reviewers found the minimal interface challenging, most appreciated how this design choice enhanced immersion in the story. The three main categories of Hellblade's story work in concert to create its distinctive narrative experience. The emotional core of Senua's personal journey and mental health struggles is given historical context through its Norse mythological framework, while the technical elements of audio, animation, and presentation serve to make both aspects more immersive and impactful. The game's audio-visual design emerges as a masterfully crafted symphony of binaural sound and striking visuals that deeply immerses players in its world. The 3D positional audio, specifically designed for headphones, creates an intimate soundscape where voices whisper directly into players' ears from various directions, making many feel as if sounds are physically moving around them. This technical achievement is complemented by stunning visual design, with players frequently noting the game's photorealistic graphics, haunting environments, and seamless transitions between gameplay and cutscenes. The visual presentation ranges from beautiful, sun-dappled landscapes to disturbing nightmarish sequences, with many players reporting they would stop just to take in the scenery. However, some players note that the textures can appear dated in certain areas, and the dark sections can be frustratingly difficult to navigate. The synchronized implementation of audio and visuals creates such a convincing atmosphere that numerous players report experiencing physical reactions like chills, goosebumps, or the need to look over their shoulders while playing. Even in darkness, the wonder and the beauty of this world never leaves us. It is always there, waiting to be seen again. This quote from the game captures how the game creates a psychologically charged atmosphere that deeply affects players' emotional states. The experience alternates between moments of haunting beauty and overwhelming darkness as environments transform from peaceful meadows to nightmarish hellscapes. The psychological impact is carefully crafted through a combination of visual distortions, unsettling audio, and the constant presence of voices that both help and hinder progress. Players consistently describe feeling genuine anxiety, dread, and unease while playing, with many noting they needed to take breaks due to the intensity of the experience. Can a game's environment tell a story without words? The game's world design demonstrates this possibility through meticulously crafted landscapes that seamlessly blend Norse mythology with psychological horror. The environment transitions between starkly different settings, where each area is designed with careful attention to lighting, weather effects, and architectural details that reflect both the physical and mental journey of Senua. The environmental storytelling is enhanced by dynamic weather system and lighting changes that can transform beautiful scenes into oppressive hellscapes in moments. Players particularly praise how the world feels interconnected despite its linear nature, with distant landmarks often being visible from multiple locations. However, some players note that the limited exploration options and invisible walls can break immersion, while others mention that the environmental puzzles sometimes feel repetitive or frustrating. The game's atmosphere emerges from the intricate interplay between three core elements. The audiovisual elements create the foundation through binaural sound and striking visuals, while the psychological atmosphere leverages these technical achievements to create emotional impact and tension. These elements are then woven into carefully designed environments that physically manifest both the mythological setting and Senua's mental state, creating a cohesive and deeply affecting experience that earned consistently high praise across all three atmospheric aspects.
There's no doubt about it.
How does a video game captures the experience of psychosis with authenticity and respect? Senua's Sacrifice takes players into the mind of someone experiencing severe mental illness, specifically psychosis. The developers collaborated extensively with neuroscientists, mental health professionals, and individuals who experience psychosis to create an accurate portrayal. The game's binaural audio system places voices all around the player, alternating between helpful guidance and disturbing intrusions. These voices serve multiple functions: warning of danger, providing gameplay hints, creating doubt, and building narrative tension. Players report feeling genuinely unsettled yet enlightened by this representation, with many gaining new understanding of what individuals with psychosis experience. What happens when a game pushes players to question their own perception of reality? Hellblade creates an intensely immersive psychological experience that affects players on a deeply personal level. Many report needing to take breaks due to the game's emotional intensity and psychological pressure. The experience frequently leaves players feeling unsettled, anxious, and questioning what is real or illusion. While some found this aspect overwhelming or distressing, others praised it as a uniquely powerful gaming experience. The game's ability to create genuine psychological tension without relying on typical horror game tactics like jump scares has been particularly noted as innovative. Can a video game help bridge the gap in understanding mental health? According to player responses, Hellblade succeeds in creating unprecedented empathy and awareness around mental illness. The game serves as an educational tool, helping players understand conditions they might never otherwise comprehend. Many players report gaining their first real insight into what living with psychosis might feel like. Healthcare workers and individuals with personal experience of mental illness frequently validate the game's portrayal as accurate and enlightening. While the game's intensity means it may not be suitable for everyone, particularly those currently struggling with mental health issues, its value as an awareness tool is consistently highlighted. How does a journey through darkness become a powerful story of human resilience? The story follows Senua's quest to save her dead lover's soul, but evolves into a profound exploration of grief, trauma, and personal darkness. Players consistently report forming strong emotional connections with Senua's character, feeling invested in her struggles and victories. The game's storytelling prowess is particularly evident in its ability to maintain ambiguity about what is real versus hallucinated, creating a narrative that mirrors Senua's mental state. Many players describe being moved to tears by the story's conclusion. The game's ability to tackle heavy themes while maintaining player engagement has been particularly noted. The four major categories work together to create Hellblade's distinctive experience. The authentic portrayal of psychosis serves as the foundation, which directly creates psychological impact on players, leading to increased mental health awareness and understanding. This experiential learning is wrapped in an emotionally resonant narrative that helps players process and contextualize the challenging material they are engaging with. The strong positive sentiment scores suggest these elements successfully complement each other rather than competing for attention. What makes a world both beautiful and terrifying at the same time? Hellblade's dark atmosphere emerges as a masterfully crafted element that permeates every aspect of the visual experience. Players frequently note the striking contrast between moments of visual splendor and sections of oppressive darkness, with many recommending playing in a dark room to fully appreciate the atmospheric design. The graphics receives particular praise for their ability to create unsettling yet captivating scenes, though some players mention certain areas being too dark to navigate comfortably. Multiple reviews highlight how the visual atmosphere actively contributes to the narrative, with the game's environments physically transforming to reflect Senua's mental state. The hardest battles are fought in the mind, not with the sword. Hellblade's narrative stands out for its unflinching exploration of psychological darkness. Players frequently describe feeling emotionally invested in Senua's journey, with many reporting that the story's dark themes left a lasting impact even after completion. The narrative's psychological elements are enhanced by constant presence of voices in Senua's head, which reviewers describe as both unsettling and integral to the storytelling experience. While the dark narrative elements receive widespread acclaim for their authenticity and emotional depth, some players found the consistently bleak tone overwhelming and needed to take breaks during extended playthroughs. The most discussed feature is the permadeath system, where darkness spreads up Senua's arm with each death, leading to a complete save file deletion if it reaches her head. Combat encounters are described as intense and claustrophobic, with players often finding themselves overwhelmed by multiple enemies in dark, confined spaces. The game's puzzles frequently involve manipulating darkness and perspective, though some players found these segments repetitive or frustrating. Reviews note how the gameplay deliberately limits visibility in certain sections to create tension, with one particularly memorable sequence taking place in near-complete darkness. While many praise how these mechanics reinforce the game's themes, others found the dark elements occasionally hindered basic gameplay functionality, especially during combat when the camera could get lost in dark corners or when navigating poorly lit areas. The darkness whispers directly into your ears. Hellblade creates a distinct dark sensory experience through its innovative use of binaural audio and visual effects. The audio-visual experience frequently pushes players out of their comfort zone, with many reporting genuine feelings of unease and tension during their playthrough. Reviews particularly praise how the game blends visual distortions and audio hallucinations to create a uniquely unsettling atmosphere that serves both the narrative and the gameplay. The sensory elements are described as intense enough to cause breaks, though this is often noted as intentional design rather than a criticism. Hellblade's use of darkness operates on multiple interconnected levels. The atmospheric darkness provides the foundation, creating a world that reflects and amplifies the psychological darkness of the narrative, while the gameplay mechanics translate these dark themes into tangible challenges. The sensory experience ties everything together through carefully crafted audio-visual elements that make the darkness feel real and immediate, though some players found the cumulative effect of all of these dark elements overwhelming. Is the combat in Hellblade satisfying, or does its basic nature detract from the experience? The game's combat system emerges as a deliberately streamlined experience featuring light attacks, heavy attacks, dodging, blocking, and parrying as core mechanics. Many players describe the combat as fluid and responsive, with weighty animations that make each strike feel impactful. The system employs a focused approach where timing and positioning matter more than complex combinations. The combat difficulty adapts to player performance with an auto-scaling option that helps maintain tension without becoming frustrating. Boss battles receive particular praise for their unique mechanics and memorable designs, offering more tactical depth than standard encounters. The game employs a measured approach to combat frequency, with fights occurring at specific narrative moments rather than constant engagement. The combat takes place in designated areas, where enemies spawn in waves. This structured approach receives mixed reactions. Some appreciate the pacing, while others find it predictable. A common criticism focuses on enemy variety, with players reporting only 4 or 5 basic enemy types throughout the game, leading to repetitive encounters in later stages. The intensity of fights increases primarily through quantity rather than complexity, with later battles putting players against multiple opponents in sometimes cramped spaces. The game succeeds in creating a visceral combat experience through meticulous attention to animation and feedback. Players consistently highlight how each strike feels weighty and powerful, with notable emphasis on the satisfying impact of successful parries and counterattacks. The absence of a HUD contributes to the immersion, while voices warn of incoming attacks from behind, a feature many players find both practical and atmospheric. Players note that the fighting style feels appropriately brutal and desperate, matching Senua's character and circumstances. The focus ability, which slows time, adds a tactical layer that players appreciate, particularly during challenging encounters. Though the system lacks extensive combo options, many find that the raw, grounded nature of the combat enhances, rather than detracts from the experience. The fighting system operates as one component of a larger design philosophy that prioritizes storytelling over pure action. The fighting mechanics, while straightforward, reflect Senua's warrior background while still conveying her vulnerability through careful tuning of difficulty and encounter design. Some players note that while the combat could be deeper, its relatively simple nature allows less action-oriented players to engage with the full experience without being gatekept by difficulty. Hellblade's action elements form a carefully balanced system where straightforward combat mechanics serve both gameplay and narrative purposes. The structured implementation of combat encounters create deliberate pacing, while the visceral feel and impact of fighting provide satisfying feedback despite limited complexity. The integration of these elements with the broader game design shows how combat was approached as one component of a larger experience rather than the primary focus. And there you have it, our consensus review of Hellblade, built from thousands of player experiences. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to stay up to date with more data-driven gaming insights by following us on social media and visiting our website. Thanks for watching.